You're at 109 right now.
Let's talk about the genius of Donald Glover. For starters, I, oh my gosh, as soon as I tried to make this statement, as soon as I said um, uh, a memory flashed in my mind. Okay, so let me explain this how I'm introducing. Let me explain what's happening in my mind right now. Number one, I intended to begin um this podcast just as I started by introducing our topic, our theme, Donald Glover. We're going to talk about Donald Glover. And just as I started to say I was the full sentence I was going to say was I learned about Donald Glover in 2012 when I listened to Childish Gambino's album and stuff, so forth and so on. That's what I was going to say. And just as I began to say I learned about Childish Gambino in 2012, the memories of Donald Glover and his participation in a comedy trio, a comedy troupe um, on YouTube on the channel College Humor. Um, I can't remember the name of the trio, but there were two white guys and Donald Glover. And they had some bizarre comedy sketches, some really wild things going on there. But that was my introduction to Donald Glover. It was the work that he was doing with that comedy trio. So, let's see, so that was around 2008 when I first learned about him. I remember I was in South Korea and I would go online and search for entertaining videos to watch, and I found Donald Glover and the comment and the college humor. Did I say comedy humor? I meant college humor. College humor. That's what that was. That was a college humor channel. And so that was 2008, around that time when I learned about Donald Glover. Years later, I guess I found his music. I saw, did I see him? Wait. Okay. Wait. Let me see. So more memories are coming to my mind. So there was college humor, but then there was um, he was on the show Community, and of course I knew Community because of Chevy Chase. Chevy Chase is a big name in comedy from he's an alumni of Saturday Night Live. So um so because Donald Glover, the kid from College Humor, was working with Chevy Chase, then it was like, oh, okay, he's doing bigger things now. Look at who he's working with alongside, whatever. I mean, the rest of the cast might have their own credentials and what have you, but I wasn't. I'm still not familiar with most of those people. But Donald Glover, yeah, absolutely. All right. So after Community, then I became aware of him through hmm, probably some other projects that he's done, but they don't come to mind. I can't think of them right now. So it was college humor and then Community, and then I guess it was his music. So Community, even though I didn't watch Community, I've watched several episodes here and there, and I mean he was the star, of Community. I think after Community, then he started Atlanta. I think then he went into his own direction and he was like, I'm gonna dibble and dabble in these things. I think Atlanta was after Community, but even between Atlanta and Community, he was releasing music. Well, I mean, he was also doing stand up comedy, but I mean, I wasn't aware of all the things that he was doing. But the college humor was one thing I was aware of. That was my introduction to Donald Glover. Then it became he was working on Community, and then after that, um, I guess it was his music. So between 2008 when I learned about him to 2012 when I listened to his first record, 2012, 2011, some about that time. Um, that's when I was very keyed in, I was tapped in with him. And so the first record I listened to, of course, was Camp, his first record, right? So Camp was, um, man, that was such an amazing record because there I was in South Korea. I was in South Korea. I was a university instructor. I was one of the three black uh, staff members, right? So um, there were about 50. I think there were about between 40 or 50 teachers. Um, Let me see, like 15, at least 15 people in that room. Another six, that's 21. And then 20, maybe six. Maybe there were about 30. Probably 30 teachers. Could have been 5, that's 5, 10, 15, 20, 26, 30. Yeah, something. Anyhow, about 30 teachers, and three of them are black, people of color. Yes, there was an Asian woman who could have identified as a person of color, but I didn't get those vibes from her. She was cool, very cool. I'm still friends with her on Facebook and all. I see her updates and they're very chill, very cool. Um, the others, the white folk, they tried to be chill, tried to be cool, but I didn't have I wasn't rubbing elbows with them all the time and just didn't feel so comfortable around them, especially noticeably the Koreans, had a preference, you know, and so anytime a decision would be made, then it would be, okay, you can come along, you have to follow along, rather than you're gonna lead. It's more so, oh yeah, you're the afterthought. That's what I'm trying to say. I think that's what it was. That's how I felt, being around my white colleagues. You know, so maybe that's because of um, my lack of assertiveness. Maybe that's my personality. Maybe I'm just, you know, maybe I'm imagining things. But when I was around my white colleagues in Korea, it wasn't. It was like, So anyhow, there I was. I was one of the 30 some odd people at this university, and as far as my perspective, my position and my place, I think it was very much determined by my certainly it was determined by my education, because that's why I was there, because I was educated, I was qualified to be there. Um, but then there were also things like, um, yeah, I guess, okay, so when I was at the school, they put on a show, they put on a play. What is it? 10 or 12 little monkeys, you know, one little monkey jumping on the bed, one monkey fell off, hit his head, then nine monkeys. You go from, you're counting as a little nursery rhyme or something. That nursery rhyme comes from a play, I believe, and it has a long history. And that play actually, the title, the original title of that play is not 10 little monkeys or 12 little monkeys or whatever. It's 10 little niggas, 10 little niggers. Okay. And in Korea, because Koreans don't have a knowledge of history. They don't have perspective on race relations the way that we do in America. They don't have that black white racist racial history, that dynamic. They have colorism, but they don't have the black white dynamic. So when they put the play on at the university, and it was agreed upon, or it was allowed by one of the professors, who was a white man, who was um, certainly who agreed, with it. They put the title. They used the original title. A white professor agreed to it. Said, "Yeah, sure, go ahead and do that." Like, why? Why not check? Why not? Why do it? That word is offensive. So on their flyers. Wait a minute. No, that can't be right. The way that I remember this, that can't be right. They didn't put 10 little niggers on their flyer to promote this. They didn't do that. No, it was. Well, why do I remember it as they? I remember that controversy. It was quite a controversial thing. I was in Korea and they ran a play. Ran a production of a play that the original title of the play is 10 Little Niggers, and I caught wind of it. I got wind of it somehow. How did I catch wind of it? Was it because the playbill had on it the name 10 Little Niggers or something? I don't know. Something I remember that distinctly. But that just goes to show, how clueless the Koreans are. Anywho, what I'm saying is, ooh, I was in a rough place because no one understood from my perspective. No one was like, "Hey, we shouldn't do this because the black people would be offended." Hey, there's a black American here. This is he finds this offensive. Maybe we should change it. What about the black American perspective? It wasn't represented, and I didn't feel like being the sole black person protesting. You know this detail. Um, but there I was, and so I felt oftentimes misunderstood, I suppose, um, and alone. However, when I picked up that Donald Glover tape, that CD, and I downloaded it and I listened to it, there were mentions of Donald Glover's loneliness, isolation, alienation, and frustration and angst and all of these emotions. I could relate to them in his music. And I thought, man, dude, I thought, man, he makes some damn good music. I could relate to it. He was talking about growing up with his family, um, and just being a lone black kid who was into certain things. Just being that black kid who didn't do, black stuff, quote unquote black stuff, really. I could relate to that, but there were other aspects of his music that I couldn't relate to, but they still resonated with me because on a human level, it was like, how would anyone, endure that situation? I'll give you an example. When he says that his mom was working at a fast food restaurant. I don't know if this is true or if it's just a story that he tells. I think it's just a story because I don't think his mom ever worked at a fast food. Well, I don't know her life stories. I don't know. But he says that his wife, I mean, his mother was working at a fast food restaurant establishment, and someone pulled a gun on her, and she had to just continue to work. So even though there was a traumatic event at her job, she still had to go to work. She still had to endure. And I thought, damn, that's a cold reality. Can you imagine working at a gas station? Someone comes in and robs you, you survive, and you just have to brush it off and chalk it up to, hey, it is what it is. And you never know if the next night, if there's someone else is going to come in to rob you or what have you. It's like, oh man, this is terrible. Excuse me. That's sort of a black thing I've noticed. Like that nostril, scratching of the nostril. I would do that when I was growing up. I did that more often than I do these days. I notice I do that now only when I think when the weather is changing mostly. But I did that a lot when I was growing up, and I think it's because of the dust in my room. So it's due to allergies, dust allergies. And when I moved to South Korea, I didn't experience that. It stopped completely. I never did that. which is which is such a black thing. Watch, what was that? Oh, Dion Cole did that in You People. That was the most relatable com that was such a subtle, relatable thing. Like, oh my gosh, that black thing that we do. Oh man. And I just did it. Okay. But yeah, like I said, when I was in South Korea, that didn't happen. It stopped. I think the air, my living space. Maybe it was just what happened in Los Angeles is where I lived. I hadn't dusted. I lived in a very dusty room in a very dusty household, and so the dust got to me. But when I was in Korea, maybe I hadn't. In Korea, I was moving. I moved from apartment to apartment, so I always moved in a different. I don't know, or maybe I didn't stay very long in my home. Because I could recall like being when I lived at home. I was a homebody, so I would stay home on weekends and stuff. But when I got to Korea, then on weekends I would be out and about. I don't know how to explain it. I don't know how to explain it, but back to Childish Gambino, Donald Glover, and his music, I could relate to it on so many levels, and I could appreciate it for how masterful, um, his expression was of life, of innocence, um, and the final story, the final song on his album, on that first album, Camp, is a is a it's a wonderfully told. Um, it's a graphic novel, graphic in the sense that you can see it. It's eloquent, but not graphic in the sense that, oh, that's horrific, terrible. No, graphic. You can see it so well, so well painted. And he's not even rapping. He's just basically telling the story with a beautiful instrumental, in the background, and that is just masterful. And it's like that's what sets him apart because from the others because for the story that he's telling, he's doing it so well, that he's calling into this music genre. He's calling into it literature. You know, he's bringing in you know a story that he's telling over this instrumental. So that was beautiful. So anyway, I loved Camp, and Camp was fire, as they say, as the youngsters say. That was a hot one. And then from there, um, I was hooked on Donald Glover's music because it was different. The songs are different, the beats are different, not what I'm used to. But for the stories, and for the content, for his character, for his personality, to shine through that music, that's really what I listen for, and that's what I really appreciate about that album. Not so much the music, the beats, because if the beats were knocking, were West Coast beats, I might play more Childish Gambino. Maybe not. There's too much music out there anyway, and I guess I just he got lost in the shuffle. That would explain why I haven't listened to him recently. But I'm talking about Childish Gambino because I saw his video, Littlefoot Bigfoot, and that's what I really wanted to talk about. Um, and I got sidetracked or went on a tangent about South Korea, but it's all relevant um, to the experience, to the expression, you know, and to how I had to explain that to explain how I relate to his music, Donald Glover's music. All right, so the next thing that I wanted to say is, yeah, I watched Atlanta. I watched episodes of Atlanta. The craziest episode has to be the episode with. Wait a minute, there's so many crazy episodes. My goodness, crazy episodes from Atlanta, memorable ones. Oh wait, it was only one episode, but they had many sections. It was that one episode with um what's it called? So Paperboy is being interviewed by or Paperboy was interviewed alongside the trans person. That episode where they cut away. It was Montague, right? It was like a Montel Williams, Donahue, um, you know, format. And then the commercials, the Dodge commercials in between. Oh my gosh. What the hell was that all about? The dude drove around the city and he wasn't wearing pants. And everyone was like, "Hey, that's a nice car." Everybody was saying, "That's a nice car. That's a nice car." This dude didn't have it together. Didn't have it together at all. Like, wow. That part, man. That part. So, man. And then the 30-year old black dude who identifies as white, he says, "No wonder I don't get respect. I'm a 35-year-old white man, you know, going through a trans surgery." Oh my gosh, that was just bizarre type of craziness and just true. It's just true. It's like that's what race is. Like, oh, you're in a society and you're not getting respected. Um, you know, your pants aren't hanging off of your butt. You're not doing the cultural things that you think, identifies you. And it's why is that? Because I identify as something else. I identify as those white people over there. Hey, what kind of IPA do you have on tap? What the fuck? I call the cops on that guy. Like you're doing white people stuff, man. That's because I identify as being white. That's crazy. All right. Um. So anyhow, so anyhow, what a bizarre ride it was to watch that episode. Just like, oh my gosh. All right. But then Cat Williams is on that episode. The alligator man, that was beautiful. And then the final scene to see the alligator man running down the street oh man, that was beautiful. Beautifully played by Cat Williams. He got the Emmy for that one, right? Cat Williams, genius. Boy, oh boy. So, what else do we have there? We've got mm, we got So we had episodes of Atlanta to watch. We had music from Childish Gambino. Um, he borrows a lot from other songs. You know, he's not so much. The one thing about Childish Gambino, he's not so creative. I mean, his comedy is extremely creative, but the music he borrows from other artists. He's not creative in the way that Prince was creative. You know, Prince could do everything and he did it well. I'm guessing Childish Gambino relies upon others. He might have ideas and might be capable of rapping and even, I want to say singing, but his singing isn't that great. Like he could rap, and then he's got a mind for these different things. Like he's a creative person who can put things together, who can produce maybe. I don't know. I wonder, is Childish Gambino like Drake? Is he a product? You know, what things actually come from the mind of Donald Glover? So anyhow, so we got a lot of music from him. All right. So now we've got this Littlefoot Bigfoot video, and the most striking moment occurs when during the performance, uh, a man shoots himself. And the interesting thing about him shooting himself is that initially the man seems to be irritated, annoyed with the performance, with Donald Glover's performance, and so the man stands up in protest, takes out a gun that he seems to want to use to harm uh, Donald Glover. He wants to stop him from performing this song he doesn't like. And so the man stands up from his seat in the audience and walks toward Donald Glover, who, I guess, inadvertently, while dancing, probably waved his hand in the man's direction, but because he was standing, uh, he inadvertently hits the man or something. There's some interaction that occurs between Donald Glover and this man with this gun, and it's not so much that Donald Glover was trying to defend himself or noticed the gun. It was inadvertent, but there was contact made between these two, and and the result is the man inadvertently shoots himself and dies during Donald Glover's performance. And it's a very awkward moment indeed until the awkwardness, the silence is broken when a member of the audience begins to laugh at what just occurred, what they just witnessed. He laughs. And as he's laughing, he says something like, "Ooh, you messed up," or something like that. "Ooh, wee, wow," and just laughs. And then that causes other members of the audience to laugh at this man's death, this error, this mistake. This man died. He said, "Ooh, look at that! Wow." He said, "Okay, so the thing I'll say about that is like, what kind of commentary is that? It seemed how did they weave that? How did they bring that in there? Bringing tragedy into a Donald Glover music video seems like um, it seems necessary. Like a good Shakespearean tragedy, there's always a bloodbath. There's always this, yeah, there's always a tragedy. So in a Donald Glover work, there's always a tragedy. There's always something, that's going to happen. That's going to shake you, you know. And it's placed perfectly in the performance because it's at a moment where there's a high crescendo, right? There's a lot of intensity and then it happens. So, um yeah, so we got all that. Um it's brilliant. It's brilliantly weaved in to the song and the video. But what is it? Is it commentary on our society? Is he saying that is he saying that if you're a hater, if you hate me, if you're a hater, you're going to get something. It's something bad is going to happen to you. Is he commenting on being a hater? Don't be a hater? Is that what he's saying? Look, the man who hated the performance ends up shooting himself in don't put that negative energy out there. It's only going to come back to you, sort of, so to speak. A karmic. Is that a karmic statement? Is he talking about karma? Then, or is it a statement about us, about our society? Like, um, well, the man laughs. The man laughs when tragedy strikes. Is that to say that we're so what is it, desensitized to tragedy that these things will make you laugh? I remember I remember so many years ago, 1997 maybe, around the time that Schindler's List was released. There was a news story about a group of students who went to the movies to watch Schindler's List. It was supposed to be a educational experience for them, and yet when they watched the movie, when someone was murdered in a scene, the kids laughed, and the kids were saying it's the way that the person fell, it's the way that the murder was depicted that was funny. And because the students believed they were just watching a movie, they just took it as, hey, that was funny, rather than, oh my gosh, that might have really happened. We're watching real events, that's that sort of thing. And so at that time, it was a matter of, well, these kids are too desensitized. They're watching violence on video games and other videos. And when they see a serious movie, they don't even take it seriously, that kind of thing. So is that where we are as a society? Are we desensitized to the violence? Or does it say that the only way to cope through tragedy um, is to laugh or to find something funny about it, to find the humor in the tragedy? Um, and then you have the big dude. And then you have the unexpected feature from a rap artist, and the guy is a giant. Is depicted as a giant, and that the fact that the black man, the rapper, is a giant, that harkens back to Boots Riley's um, "I'm a Virgo," where the story is about a black boy who is a giant, a literal giant, you know. And Boots Riley's work is commentary on the the diminishment, the diminishing elements of our society that are placed on the black man, the black body, so that we in society are made to feel small, but in reality, the truth of who we are in society is very grand, is very big. So, in a very literal sense, instead of imagining our power and our strength, physically, Boots Riley made this one kid a giant. And then there is the same concept with Donald Glover with this rapper, this feature. So, you know, again, that's what I'm getting at. Like, is Donald Glover like just borrowing these ideals, or is this an amalgamation of ideals from other places, from other artists, working to bring forth the best Donald Glover project? Because I heard a song. No, no, no. Let's go back to that other album, that Blue album that Donald Glover has. There's like a Rick James song, very famous. What I don't think it was Mary Jane, but he borrowed the lyrics, the cadence. No, it wasn't that. It was a was it not Sly in the phone or Bootsy Collins? It was Bootsy Collins. Something like that, right? Daylight, or something, whatever that one is. Yeah, so he took that. Like, how do you like? That's not even sample. I mean, that not only sampling, that's like interpolating the whole song, switching it up. But where's the creativity? That's not an original work. That's a version of a Bootsy Collins song. That's what I'm saying. And then this new record has more of that. I heard him take the lyrics from Jeanne. Hey, hey, Mr. DJ, you playing our song? All right, all right. Something Jeanne, that group, Jeanne, the two women with bald heads, one light skin, one dark skin. I don't think it was Hey, Mr. DJ. It was Everybody. Oh, okay, I forgot the song. But when but Donald Glover sings it. Childish Gambino sings it. I'm like, yo, he's borrowing from there. He's borrowing from here. He's borrowing from there. He's like, where's the originality? It doesn't detract from what he's doing, from the product that he's creating. It's more so like DJ Khaled. It's like, what are you buying when you buy a DJ Khaled record? You're buying a new product that has borrowed from so many other products. Like, where is the originality? Where is he writing? Is he creating? What he's just repackaging and bringing it back out and putting it back in, giving it back to you. Like, what? But the original artist did it well. Did it so well that there's no reason to even change it. So, so I think Donald Glover is a comedic genius, and his musical genius is apparent too. But or maybe it isn't apparent. The music genius. The music is good, but it's not apparent. And then the his videos, everything that he produces, yeah, it's thought provoking. It's visually stimulating, and he's one heck of a entertainer, and he's an awesome cat. But I guess I just wonder what role he plays in bringing these things to life. You know, because there's some damn good ideas. There's some really brilliant stuff. I can see Dave Chappelle, writing his jokes. Dave Chappelle clearly is a writer. He writes his jokes. He writes his stand-up comedy, and that's what you get stand-up comedy from him. Now, when you watch him on his shows, bringing forth comedy sketches, that's a collaborative effort. He worked with Neil Brennan. Neil Brennan? Neil Brenner. Neil Brenner, I think is his name. So it was a collaborative effort. It wasn't just Dave sitting down and saying, "All right, this is what I'm going to do. And let me write this up and then that's what we're going to do. That's what I'm going to do next. This is how it's going to play out." Nah, he bounced ideas off of Neil. So my question is, who is Donald Glover bouncing his ideas off of? Is it does he have a partner, or is it a group? Is it a group helping him bring these ideals to fruition? and he is the face of this conglomerate, creative conglomerate. The world may never know. Oh no. Amanda Seals is certainly productive. Not as productive as Donald Glover. I mean, excuse me, Donald Glover doesn't seem to be as productive as Amanda Seals. Amanda Seals is very is producing stuff. She's got a podcast. I remember a day or two ago I looked at my podcast and I looked at Amanda Seals' podcast. I released an episode of the podcast like 18 hours from the time that I was checking my podcast. And Amanda Seals had released a podcast within 1 hour of that time that I was checking the podcast. So she's producing, she's working, constantly creating content and stuff like that. So where's Childish Gambino? What's he doing? I don't know, but we've got some new stuff coming from him, and I think it's pleasing. It's pleasing, but we can't. But we also have to be very cautious about what he's producing because it's like, hey man, what you doing with us? You showing us the work of a group of people and passing it off as your own? Isn't that what Drake does? Kung Fu Kenny, peace, peace and blessing.
You're at 109 right now.